Hi yogis, welcome back. My name is Rachel. Today I'm going to talk about mountain climber and also chin stand. So if you're working your mountain climber, maybe just watch the first part of the video. If you're working your chin stand, you can watch it all the way through. So mountain climber looks like this. Okay, so there's a couple tricks that can help you when you're first starting your mountain climber practice. Now, first of all, before you do any of this stuff, you want to make sure that you warm up your body. That's very important. Also, when you're coming into mountain climber, like say my right knee is going to be the one that's coming in. Don't really worry about this left leg because it's actually going to be behind me when I get into it. But what I want to talk about is you want this left elbow, the opposite elbow, squeezing in. First of all, it's very important that you have this kind of 90-degree angle-ish in your arms, very much like your crow. In your crow pose, you want to try to keep that 90-degree angle, and that's what I call the shelf. The shelf is very important. When you're going into your mountain climber, it's the same thing. You want to have that shelf, but also when you're first starting out in mountain climber, it can be helpful to have the opposite elbow resting somewhere if available. It's not always available to get there, okay? And that's all right. That will come with practice, with time, as your body, gets used to these shapes. But if you can, get the elbow to rest somewhere on your torso so that both of your elbows are supported so that you can move into this more fluidly with more stability. And it's a lot easier once you create the shelf to get your back leg, it just kind of floats right up. Now, as you continue to practice, the elbow will no longer rest. It's kind of like a lot of the other poses like side crow and things like that where you won't always have to have the elbow there, and it's more advanced to have it kind of floating in space, but it's still important to have the shelf. However, when you're first starting mountain climber, that little extra help there can be the difference. I mean, that's how I learned it. It can be the difference between understanding the pose and getting that lift or not. You can also do it up against a wall where your back foot is pressing into the wall, and that can be really helpful because then the rest of your body can feel what it needs to be doing. So you can place, for instance, your left foot on the wall, shift yourself forward, take your right knee to your right tricep, and bend down. Now that is generally what your mountain climber is gonna feel like. So let's try it together. Come to your downward facing dog. Make sure you've warmed up, like I said. Come to your downward facing dog. You want your hands to be shoulder width distance apart. You'll take your back foot. So let's say we're gonna do our mountain climber with our right knee to our right elbow. I like to take my left foot a little more in towards the center to give me a nice tripod stance. You'll shift into a plank pose. Your right knee will come to the outside of your right tricep. From here, create your shelf. Bend your elbows, and I'll even sometimes take my left hand out slightly so that when I bend my elbow, it lands right here on those, around the ribs, around your left side body. So it may help when you're first starting this to have your hands a little bit closer and have the left hand kind of rotated out. So you're in your plank pose, right knee, right tricep. Bend both of your elbows back, shift your torso forward. From here, you're just shifting your toes so that you're leaning a little bit forward, your back leg floats up. I learned to do this pose, or the first time I ever did this pose, I was talking so much smack about it to my roommate. I was like, my yoga teacher wants me to do this ridiculous pose. Can you believe it? Look at this ridiculous pose. And I landed it right then and there. And that's when I started to realize, can't is a lie. If you want to achieve something, keep working towards it. Find different tricks, tips. I mean, there are so many yogis out there willing to give you information about how to get into these poses. If that is your goal, make it happen. With that being said, there are some poses that are not going to work for my body, and I know that, like in this lifetime, are not going to happen, and that's okay with me. Such as like having my foot behind my head. I mean, that's not something I really want to even work towards, but that's also something I don't feel is very safe for my hips. I don't have like crazy open hips like Kino, and like, awesome job, Kino, you're amazing. But be realistic about what your goals are. So anyway, moving forward, if you are trying to get from your mountain climber to chin stand, it is super important that you think about lifting your legs up, 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 up. The higher up you can get your feet to lift, especially the extended leg, the easier it's going to be to get into it. And honestly, the first time I got into chin stand, I kind of realized that there's this zipper feeling. It's like literally like zips you up and your leg just lifts up and then the other one will follow. If you don't get that first leg up high, if you keep it back, the tendency is that it's going to fall down to the earth. So the more you can have it lifting up, 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 like stacking through your joints, the other leg will just float right up with it. So the way that looks. And another little note before we go into this, chin stand is not meant to have a ton of weight in your chin. Your chin is simply, it's kind of like a headstand. It's just there as another point of balance, but it is not the space that's taking the most weight. With that being said, when you first practice this, be really careful. Chin stand can be dangerous. I mean, you want to be looking forward. You don't want your chin like jamming into the front of it. If anything, you want the bottom part of your chin to be what's on the earth. And it can be helpful to do poses such as puppy pose with your chin on the earth to kind of start to understand the shape, but also if it's something that your body is going to be able to do right now. Like, this is what puppy pose looks like. You have your chin on the mat, and that is similar throat extension as when you're in, and your hips are actually lifted up, but as when you're in your chin stand. So first time you do chin stand, definitely be careful, be gentle, and do it on a surface that is not gonna leave like a burn on your chin, because I've done chin stand on the beach, got sand burn, I've done it on carpet burn, and again, that's me putting too much weight into my chin, but you're gonna have to put some weight into your chin because you're supporting your body with your hands and your chin. So let me show you what that looks like. So you'll come into your downward facing dog. Again, maybe take that back foot in towards the center. Like, I'm gonna keep it on the same side just so my cues are the same for this. Left foot will come into the center, right leg will lift up. Take your right knee to your right tricep. Get into your mountain climber prep. Elbows shift back. You're gonna lean forward. And then I do a little extra kicking up. Elbows bending back a lot. Elbows are back quite a bit. That is a challenging practice. But if you notice, like when I went into it, my back leg, I actually gave it a little extra push. And that's something that, again, is kind of a more, I wouldn't say beginner, because this is not a beginner pose, but it's kind of in the beginning of your chin stand practice. That extra lift or kick up with that foot is gonna help you. As you get more advanced into the practice, you can go slower, and that will help you work your edge, because going slower is way harder. But it's a very healthy practice so that you can build strength and you can get benefit out of these poses over a long-term period. That's what I love about yoga. You can kind of cheat your way into some of these poses, but as you build the strength, these poses continue to be challenging because you shift into more advanced variations, such as anything in yoga. When you go slower and more controlled, it's harder. So I hope that was helpful. This was a very short kind of little tutorial. Please feel free to give me feedback and stuff so that I can help you understand these poses a little more effectively. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for listening, and namaste, yogis. Mwah.